Which one do you want to get fucked by first?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I do agree with you. I think Trump did win the debate.
Yeah.
I think he presented himself a lot better. There were some times where he went into classic Trump mode and talked about how great he is, and a few times, and definitely went into because you expect that from Trump, but it was definitely less than usual. So I guess it's better. I don't know. It's a little weird to like talk about that as like a strength of his for tonight.
Yeah.
But
our expectation is so low, man. Like,
it's so low that it's just like, hey, he didn't sound like as much of an egomaniacal asshole tonight. So
rare.
And I think he defended himself and presented himself very well tonight. Especially considering Biden had more than one occasion where he seemed like he just kind of forgot what he was talking about, which is a little. And I'm not, people lose your train of. I don't think it's like a sign that a lot of people think is like Biden going senile and shit like that.
Right.
But I think people lose their trains of thought all the time. But it happened several times tonight, and that's just going to be used as more ammunition against them.
Exactly. So, I mean, like, you're afforded that if you're regular people. Like, I too have moments of brain fart where I just forget what the fuck I'm doing. Like, I'll be going to the fridge, and I'm like, wait. Why am I going to the fridge? And I'll be holding like the TV remote. I'll be like, why the fuck do I have a TV remote? And things like that. But you can't afford that if you're running for the president. Like, you have to seem like a very strong individual. So But I think one of the things, though, I think we'll probably talk about later tonight is that will this turn the tide for anybody at this point? I really don't think it will for anyone either way.
I don't know. I gotta say, I do agree. Like the debate was much better tonight. There was hardly any interrupting. Both parties stated their facts and their stances very well. And there really wasn't that much like bad mouthing or anything like that. Like in terms of like the inappropriate levels of bad mouthing that we got last time, I should say that there's still bad mouthing because
that's
this is where we're at. But
that's true. Trump went balls to the wall though. Like he didn't bad mouth Biden himself as much compared to the first one, but he bad mouthed some countries. I was really surprised when I was translating this. He was like, at one point he was like, okay, so if all these immigrants, if they come to the country illegally, we catch them and release them. Only those with, and I shouldn't say this, low IQ should come back. Like I was live translating this and I busted out laughing. I was like, dude, did he just call these people retards? Like, did he just really say only people with low IQ comes back? Like, you just called these guys idiots. I was like, no, for obeying the law. It's like, what are you saying here, man? And then at one point he was like,
I don't know.
Look at China, they're so dirty over there. Look at Russia, they're so dirty over there. Look at India, they're so dirty over there. I was like, okay, I'll take the India bit, but
it's a little much, like
you didn't make any friends tonight.
No, he did not.
That's funny,
but
yeah.
Oh boy. Anyway,
it's wild.
Moving on a little bit. Last time, right after the previous presidential debate a couple weeks ago, there was a big call to have a mute button.
Yeah.
And apparently, meme culture affected it enough for it to actually get implemented.
Yeah.
Which I was surprised to hear about. I did not think this would actually happen.
Yeah.
But do you think the mute button was effective or necessary?
So definitely effective or necessary. I don't think without it we could have had as quality of a debate as we did this time. Also, I couldn't see if Trump was trying to interrupt Biden while he was talking. I couldn't see if he was just moving his mouth and like the thing's muted. Also, there was a little bit of a snafu where towards the end when Trump was talking, his mic went mute for like a split second, and I was like,
I got that too.
Whoa, did they try to mute him, but then like turn him back on. I was like, oh, that's probably just like some kind of a tick. But definitely super helpful. I think it was like a nuclear option. It wasn't that they needed to use it. It was just the threat of them being able to use it made both parties very, very civil. Like Biden was always going to be civil, but it made Trump conduct himself better.
Oh, yeah.
And as a result, Trump looked better. He performed better because he wasn't interrupting somebody else. Because I think if they go toe-to-toe in a debate, I'm pretty sure Trump would win. Like, I'm pretty sure he is a better orator than Biden. Not to say he's a better person, he's definitely a better speaker than Biden.
Yeah. I think generally, yeah. I don't think that is in dispute, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
In terms of, like, how he can get a crowd on his side and stuff like that.
Exactly. His biggest
yeah.
enemy is himself. Like, seriously, him interrupting Biden made himself look worse. It made him look like he was desperate. Yeah.
No, I think the mute button. Yeah, you're right. I think the mute button really helped Trump tonight.
Yeah.
And I don't. And the only times I did catch it being used a couple of times, but it wasn't like because he was like interrupting anybody or anything like that. It was just like a couple of times Trump went on a little bit too long in his section, and so they muted him.
Really,
but he stopped like pretty well after. Like it didn't end up like. Excuse me. It didn't really like end up cutting off any of his thoughts too badly. It seemed like he got it what he needed to across. And like you said, that for their independent sections, they mostly just switched to a single camera on them, on the person who was speaking. So you couldn't really see how many people were interrupting. But during Trump's sections, I know you were busy interpreting, so you might have not heard as much. But during Trump's sections, you could hear Biden laughing a couple of times, like chuckling in response. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they muted Trump for Biden's responses either, because I think we would have heard something. But we really didn't. I think Trump was actually being somewhat respectful tonight in terms of not interrupting.
So basically, the way that the rule works is that both candidates have 2 minutes of speak time when they're asked a question. But after those 2 minutes, it's fair game. So when Biden was chuckling, it wasn't because like they would mute him. It was because it was past the point where they were answering the questions. Their 2 minutes were up, so they could both interrupt each other. But yeah, I caught that too. Biden was cold laughing, and I thought that might not have played off as well, because like, I was like, dude, what are you, man, like a high school kid? Come on, like you can't be doing that kind of stuff, man. But yeah. I understand. It's hard to not do that though, because Trump was bad mouthing his family, like all of them.
What was the phrase Biden kept repeating a bunch? Come on, man. Come on, people,
come on,
or something like that. Yeah.
I couldn't translate
like,
that.
That happened a couple of times.
Yeah, I just straight up said, come on, man. I was like, yeah, come on. You want to
Come
say
on!
Come on! Shimon! Yeah. No, it was pretty funny though. Oh man.
But that was I thought the mute button was actually a pretty good idea. So I getting into like the actual things that were discussed. Trump and Biden talked about a lot how long the coronavirus will last, and they both had very different takes on it. And the moderator herself had very different ideas about it, because she was talking about how many of the scientists disagreed with Trump on this. So I just want to ask you, X, do you believe Trump's claims that a vaccine will be ready within weeks, like you said? And what about Biden's claim that Trump acted too slowly? I know we talked about that latter one a few times on the show, but...
So, number one, let's talk about the vaccine. So the question is not if, it's not even yet like what I think, if he's true about the vaccines coming out in a couple of weeks. The thing is, Trump himself doesn't believe the vaccine is going to come out in a couple of weeks, because the moderator asked a follow-up question, because nobody really heard this from Trump like during these couple of days. But when Trump was like, yeah, so in a couple of weeks we'll announce the vaccine. And the moderator was like, hold the front door. Wait, so like the vaccine's coming out in a few weeks? Are you sure? Can you give us a timeline? It's gonna come out in a couple of weeks. And then Trump was like, well, I'm not sure if it's gonna come out in a couple of weeks, but it'll be pretty fast. And then Biden was like, yeah, you've been saying that for a while, man. So that's number one question. It's not gonna happen. Pfizer said it's not gonna happen. Like H&M or 3M, anyone who's working on the vaccine, like all the doctors have said, earliest is beginning of 2020, because of the nature of the final stage of the vaccine trial.
2021. Yeah,
exactly. So the third stage, let me just briefly go over it. Is just 30,000 people get versions of the vaccine. Half of the 30,000 they get like the actual vaccine. Other half of the 30,000 they get a dud, like they get the placebo, and they wait until about 300 to 500 of those guys to get sick with COVID, and compare the two groups. If the trial group was like less infected than the actual like placebo group, so that's why it's going to take too long, because they're waiting for 500 people to get sick, and that's going to take a little bit of time. So that's number one. Vaccine not going to come out until early 2020. I think the vaccine is not going to come out until like mid 2020, and even then it'll take till 2021. Even then it'll take until 2022, I think, until everyone's like inoculated, or if it makes a difference. So that's number one. It's not going to come out. Number two is, do I think Biden would have acted faster? No, 100% not. In fact, I believe if Democrats were in power, they would act much slower, because, well, Trump, is sort of like you can tell he's like a white power kind of guy. Like he's sort of a supremacist, but he's not like overtly like loud about it. But Biden,
yeah.
right? Yeah, Biden and the Democrats, they're chained by the people's voice, and their side lies a lot of immigrants, and they cannot be caught doing anything that might make them seem xenophobic. And cutting down China travels would definitely be an easy target for Republicans to say, you're being xenophobic. And they would have lost a lot of supporters, and there's no way Democrats would have done that in February. In fact, when Trump closed down China travels, all the Democrats were like, hey, bro, you're racist, man. Pelosi went to Chinatown. Was like, let's party, y'all, let's party. This was like in February. So definitely like Trump acted like, if anything, faster than anybody else. But not to say that Trump did all that good, because that was really the only thing that he did. He did that, and then he was like, hey, the virus is going to disappear, everybody.
He definitely acted quickly, but his general attitude since then and a little bit before that toward it has not been realistic or in any way what you want from a quality leader.
Exactly. He started great, but he didn't follow through, and that's, if he followed through, he would have been he still would have been shat on, but not as much. Like he really did so much. Like tonight, he spent a little bit of time talking shit about Fauci and his science team. Like he called those guys idiots. He called his science team idiots. Like Dr. Fauci. And he kept bringing up this point. It's like, well, Fauci told everyone not to wear masks. Fauci said this thing's going to blow over. Well, everyone believed it was going to go over, including Trump. But the difference is, right after they found out they were wrong, they all changed over. Fauci started saying, wear mask. All the medical people were saying, wear mask. Like, protect yourself. Like, this thing's huge now. But Trump stayed the same way. He's like, yeah, mask, wear it, don't wear it, whatever. This thing's still going to blow over. He's still saying it right now. Like, U.S. is on the rise. It's higher than Europe. It's higher than everybody else. It's still on the rise. And Trump was like, yeah, we're doing better than everybody else. We were less impacted by everybody else. I was like, bro, literally every single data is saying that you're wrong. Like, U.S. has 20% of the world's deaths, and we're like, what? 5% of the population?
And then that just goes to show what we were talking about earlier, that this issue is so politicized that it doesn't matter which side it was on. It's just it's going to be, hey, don't worry about it, regardless of which party is in power, I think, because of just how politicized this thing has become.
Exactly.
I don't know if it would have gone to this extremes with how like at this state in like the month of October, if, that Hillary was president.
Yeah.
But still, like
it would have. The Republicans would have made sure it became political, because this is a huge pain point. You can't let 200,000 people die under your care. It doesn't matter if it's your fault, but it happened while you're president. They're not gonna let you get away with that. And like on the opposite side, remember like swine flu? Remember when that was the thing when we were in high school?
Yeah.
Obama.
Very vaguely, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. See, it wasn't that big of a disease, but it impacted like. Not that different of a number than coronavirus. The only difference is swine flu is very mild. It's less painful than the actual flu itself. So I think whoever's in charge, like the virus would have wrecked America, but it's just Trump was such a dick like throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, it again goes back to Trump just being very obvious about it.
Yeah.
Trump's not a politician, so he doesn't have like the experience to lie convincingly like a lot of these other politicians do.
Actually,
and so him being so transparent through his own faults is what really kind of fucks him in this issue, I think. But yeah, I think if it was Obama, if it was Bush, if it was Clinton, or if it was whoever, then it would have been the same situation pretty much regardless.
I actually want to ask you a question, because you said something just now that I've been questioning myself for a while, which is Trump is not a politician. So looking through all these years, I am of the opinion now that he is a better politician than anybody out there. So do you still think, like, after looking at everything that he does over these 4 years, like even now, that he's still quote unquote not a politician? Like, what do you think?
I'm not a politician in the general sense, like a politician in the sense that in the way that we have it in the U.S. and the way that we have it mostly globally, and that they make a career out of being a politician.
Career politician, right? Yeah. So he's not.
That's kind of what I mean when I say that. A career politician is someone like Barack Obama or Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton, somebody who has spent their entire life in government and has had no other job in the private sector, basically.
Right.
And,
Right.
you know, I can't remember exactly how much of that,
Mm-hmm.
at least 90% of their life working for the government.
Yeah.
And thus have attained the kind of skills to be able to manipulate and lie and run a campaign in the way that a politician classically does. So in that sense, I think Trump is not a politician. However, I think Trump is really good at being a politician, good at doing what he does in terms of getting people on his side.
Yeah.
I think that part is he's really good at. He does it in an unconventional way, and that's why a lot of people like him.
Exactly.
But I don't think he's a good politician in the traditional sense. But I don't think a good politician is a good leader.
Right. Well,
like, I don't want to confuse the two.
That's the biggest. Yeah, I think I understand what you mean, because what I meant was that by him being the best politician is that he achieves the same goals that career politicians try to achieve, but he does it better and he does it easier. What I mean by that is politicians try to get votes, right? Trump did that through like hugely unconventional methods, calling like huge xenophobia. He channeled xenophobia, channeled rage. He riled people up. It was like a fucking riot, like at one of his rallies, like at any of his rallies. And he can grab people's votes. Number one, that's what you're supposed to do as a politician. Number two, he can. Politicians lie, right? Let's 100%, doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter if you're a saint in the politics area, you have to lie sometimes. Trump does this better than anybody, because when he lies, he believes that shit. He can say something, and then the next day, he says, I never said it. It's on camera, it's on transcript, I already heard it. Next day, he's like, I never said that shit. And he believes himself. He's not lying to him.
It's really weird, because you'd think someone who, with all the reality television experience that he has, would understand that shit can be recorded and that people have access to shit that is recorded.
Yeah.
It's like, really bizarre.
He has like a godly power, like he doesn't care. And then through him not caring, the rest of the world sort of forgets about it after a while. And I'm like, dude, like you are, like on some level, you are a god among politicians, dude. Like you do all the stuff they try to do, but you do it and you break all these laws. He's not politically correct. Like he is the least politically correct guy, like high profile guy I've ever seen. But it doesn't touch him. Anyone else, you or me even, like be politically incorrect on any mass platform, we're going to lose our jobs, we're going to get like ridiculed. He does it, he gets votes.
Yeah. He gets ridiculed. I will point out, he gets ridiculed plenty by especially the left, and a lot of people on the right now too. But yeah, you're right. It mostly does just get him really a lot of votes, because people like that shit. People like the fact that he doesn't fuck around. Yeah, and that's why he won last time, and it's why he's still doing pretty well.
He really is. He really is. Like some polls will say that he's falling behind by 10 points, but the same polls that correctly predicted him being president in 2016 are right now predicting that he'll win again. The only polls that were correct in 2016 are predicting again that he'll win. Could be coincidence, could be just they're supporting him and they got lucky one time. Yeah. But really, like some of these polls don't have them too different at all. And actually, I want to discuss this real quick, is what does the polls really mean? Like, just because someone's 10 points, 20 points ahead in the polls, doesn't mean they'll be president, right? Like, what do you think? I just want to ask, like, a regular, just American citizen, with your education, do you think the people's vote actually matter? Like, who decides the president?
Like the individual's vote matters? Do I think that?
Right. Well, not even that. The people's vote, right? People as entire entity, do you think their vote matters, and to how much extent?
Like, do I? I'm a little sorry. I'm just a little confused. Are you asking me? Do I think like our democracy and voting system works? Is that what you're asking?
Not that it works. Is that if 60% of everybody voted for Biden, do you think is 100% that Biden will become the president? Like the votes are in. 60%.
I don't think we're quite to the point where we really need to worry about that as much as people think we do.
Right.
I really think that there's a problem with tampering, but I don't think that it's so far gone that our democracy is completely gone. That is not the reason our democracy is going away. Let me put that.
Right.
Let me put it that way. Like that is a footnote in the myriad of issues that we have that affect this. Right. We get to vote and we get to decide who's actually making the decisions at the top. But at the end of the day, the person who's making the decisions at the top, i.e. the president and the Supreme Court and Congress, they're going to do the same thing anyway. It doesn't really matter which party it is. It's just going to be slightly different for 4 to 8 years or whatever. And then it'll go back to being the other different for a little bit longer. And some big stuff will happen. But it's not going to, that won't necessarily matter who is actually president at the time. I don't think.
I see your point there, but like the question I was trying to ask is actually I want to do this like survey. How many Americans think that the people's voice truly decide who becomes president? Because if I were to ask any regular old Joe this question, Hillary had 3 million more votes than Trump. Right, by popular vote, Hillary had 3 million more people who wished she was president than Trump. Why did Trump win? How is it that Trump win? Did those 3 million people, did their voice not matter? Right? Like, what is the answer to the question? Can the average American answer that, like, for me? Like, do the average people know why that is?
I don't think the average person knows how the Electoral College works. I don't think. No.
So it's very simple. So like the basic question is the popular vote. The answer to this question, popular vote does not decide who the president is. It has no fucking bearing on who becomes the president. I can have 60% of the actual population voting for Biden, but Trump can still become the president. And the reason is because the electoral college, the representatives of each district, they get the vote. The total number of votes Trump has to get is not more than half of the people in America, not half of everyone who voted. The total number of votes Trump has to get is 260. I think it's 260 or 230 representatives of the United States. You get that majority, you win. So our vote is basically a fucking it's a survey. It's a survey. It doesn't fucking matter, dude. Like that's the biggest thing. The representatives of each district get to vote on who's the president. That's the biggest thing, and I feel like not enough people knows about this. Like, just because more people, population-wise, more bodies like Biden doesn't mean Biden will become the president. That's the
No, you're right.
So
and that's kind of the way. Well, that's the way it's always going to be. You got places like California and Texas, which are so far to their respective colors and states. That if you're the opposing party, like if you're a Republican in California or if you're a Democrat in Texas, then your vote basically just doesn't matter.
Your vote's gone, and like. Democrats are always going to get the 55 representatives in California. Republicans are always going to get the 38 representatives in Texas. That's never going to change. It's just the swing states that matter. So it doesn't matter how many people in California screaming, "We love Biden." It doesn't fucking matter. Your 55 votes aren't going to change. So even though right now the polls are saying among all the people, they're like percentage-wise, Biden leads 10%. Right, Biden's leading 10% percentage-wise among the people. Doesn't fucking matter. If all those people are crammed into California, crammed into New York, then like it doesn't mean jack shit. The representatives of the swing states, they decide who becomes the president. So even though all the polls are saying Biden leads by 10 points, Biden leads by 5 points, Biden leads by 17 points, for God's sakes, we don't know who's going to become the president. Almost at all.
We don't.
No,
we really don't. Okay, I get what you were asking now, and I'm sorry that took so long to unpack. But
it's okay. It's a complicated point.
There for a second.
It's a very complicated point, and like I don't know. It's just I almost feel like it's like a lie. You remember that South Park episode where like people can protest wars, but the U.S. is going to go to wars anyway? It's like you're allowing the people to have like the illusion that they decide who the president is through their own vote, but realistically, does your vote really matter? Like if you're in a states that's
it's the illusion of choice kind of thing.
If you're not in the swing states, like what the fuck are you doing? Like voting.
If you really want to affect voting, you got to establish residency in Florida.
Which I don't really want to do. It's too hot there.
We're counting on you, Steve.
Right. And it's not just you; it's you and like maybe like hundreds of thousands of your friends move to Florida. Maybe then you make a difference.
Seriously, you're right. That's the real fuck you thing with this.
So
I want to get into a little bit more questions on the actual debate.
Right, go for it.
But this is something that I thought was just kind of funny. There was a section early on in the debate where Trump alleged that Biden called him racist and xenophobic. And this isn't exactly how the conversation went, but it felt like this. And it was basically, you called me a racist. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. Nuh-uh. It really felt like that. It felt like a fucking couple of preschoolers fighting. I just want to know what you think of shit like that. That was like the lowest point of the debate, in my opinion, was just like when they acted like fucking children.
Yeah. That happened several times. Number one was the racist thing. Number two, it was with the 1992 bill. Trump was like, you called African Americans super predators. Biden was like, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. He has something to do with that.
You're right, it did happen again, yeah.
Right, yeah. And, I'm sure there's a point in time where Biden thought like that. Come on, like, people change their mind, but, like, politicians change their mind every fucking day, like, twice on Sundays. Yeah. And, it's really hilarious, though, because you see presidents being brought down to this level, and the reason that they argue like kids at that segment is because they really cannot say anything either way, because there's really no point. So what Biden called Trump a racist? Half the country probably called Trump racist, and the other half that supports Trump probably admits that he is a little racist. So what? Like, there's no
I'm a little
point.
bit racist.
I'm a little bit. Yeah, Trump definitely is. And I really don't blame him, because like I think every single minority wishes their race is the best. That we have, like, the biggest lie I think everyone wants to believe is that minorities just want equality. Fuck no. Minorities want what white people have, but they don't want white people to have the same thing at the same time. We want to be the white person that want the white person to take our spot. It's the biggest lie. Equality? Fuck equality, dude. Like, someone is at the top. Like, no one's gonna accept the same shit. Like, we'll start with that. But trust me, when we get that, we're gonna want more. I think that. I want all Asian people to, like, be on top, dude. Like, I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. Like, and I don't blame anybody for feeling that. I don't blame Trump for, like, always putting America first, or, like, I don't want to say, like, white supremacists are bad. It's bad politically, but I also sort of get your logic. I don't think supremacists are good at all, but I get the logic. No. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I don't. I'm not going to go there. I don't get the logic of supremacy. I understand what you're saying about how there's really not going to be ever such a thing as equality.
Yeah. Not gonna happen.
There could be equality of opportunity, but there can't. What you're describing is there can never be equity, and that's the thing that is kind of impossible.
Yeah.
And
equality, I guess, is a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something I do.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. I'm bringing up a different point.
I was just about to say, like, because on the white supremacist, like, point, I already got to, like, clarify my point of this one, and it's just that I don't mean I support them or anything like that at all. It's just I can put myself in the shoes of somebody who claims to be the white supremacy, and I see how they arrive at that point. So I'm not, like, sort of just saying these guys are bad people. It's like, I see how you arrive at that point, and I realize all the selfishness you have to go through to do that, and all the hatred you have to have within you to get to that point. Like, I understand, right? I don't condone.
It's more of like an empathy thing.
But I understand, yeah. Like, I get why. It's not okay, but I get why. You know what I mean? Without condoning or condemning.
Yeah, okay, so you, like, understand, like, the reasons behind it.
I know how they got there. I'm not confused about why a white supremacist is a supremacist. Like, you know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I guess we can.
Not supporting them at all. I have to clarify that so many times. God,
I don't know.
My future depends on this shit.
I can see. You can see how it happens. All right. Yeah. I was confused there, but now we got that out of the way. I do want to talk about this a little bit because I've been thinking about this a lot.
Thanks, bro.
And especially in the past few days, I've been watching a lot of Penn Jillette because I kind of fell behind on watching him. And he talks about something very important, and it's something that I believe to be true. Yeah. And this is sort of frustrating, and it's frustrating to me that politicians are in this state right now, especially right now. But everybody should always be questioning politicians.
Yeah.
And I hope that, but I don't think it will. I hope that Trump being the way that he is, where everything that he said has been taken apart by the other side, and everything that he said has been picked at and examined and defrauded and everything like that across his presidency. I really am happy that has happened more in the mainstream media. That should be, in my opinion, the constant state.
Yeah. It should be a standard. It should be the status quo. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
You should always be skeptical of those in power.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when Biden's elected, I don't think that'll happen with the mainstream media.
Really? Interesting.
No.
Why do you think?
I don't think it will, because there's just a different because Biden's not obvious about it. It's harder to do. He's more of a traditional politician. Obama wasn't really taken apart in the traditional way either.
Yeah.
It's there. Whether I don't believe in like the fake news sort of thing, and I don't believe in like the media having like this evil like umbrella just hatred of the right wing people.
Yeah.
But I do think that there is a definite bias in the mainstream media against Republicans in the right way.
Absolutely.
And I think that is what is mostly feeding the picking apart of Trump. It's not that he's a bad president, it's because he's a Republican president.
It's not just because he's a bad president.
It's not just. It's not just. It's not just. It's because but a lot of it has to do with he's a Republican president.
Yeah.
But if Biden was doing these same things, I don't think it would be under the same amount of scrutiny. But I think that there needs to be that.
Yeah. So
I think that there.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I was about to say, I think you're absolutely right in the fact that Trump has been picked apart by everybody. I actually think if Biden wins, I think the media will, in turn, pick him apart. I think they will absolutely jump on his throat. Right now, the media is biased. Number one is because everyone's got a boner for Democrats right now in the media world. Number two is because Trump has spent the 4 years bad-mouthing every single media out there, including Fox. He has managed to turn Fox on himself. Like he made Fox his enemy partially. They still mostly support him, but there are definitely shows in Fox Network that say bad things about him. Like they disagree with him, and he did that himself because he was like, Fox, why are you going bad, man? Like when they slightly mentioned something that didn't agree with his thought, he was like, Fox, you guys are fake news now. Like if you talk shit about the media, if you attack the media, they're gonna attack back, and you're not gonna win against the media because the First Amendment, buddy, protects all of them. But I do believe if Biden comes into power, first thing the media will do is to bring back Hunter Biden and bring back the Russia connection, bring back the China connection. Hey, why the hell is Moscow's mayor's wife giving your son money? Is he a gigolo? Is he something else? Are you gigolo? I think that is. And the reason I'm confident with that, sorry, real quick, the reason I'm confident in that is that media will take care of themselves better than anybody. The media will go after the stories that generate the most amount of views, and the presidential scandal is the most popular news in America, aside from celebrities, sadly.
I'll admit to that part. Yeah. Okay. So I really hope you're right.
Yeah. Not as much as Trump.
I do think. I hope that you're right more than I think I'm right. If that makes sense. I hope that they hold everybody to the same level of scrutiny. And that's what I think is just the problem. I don't think Obama was held to the same level of scrutiny as Bush was.
There's a very simple reason.
I don't think. Yeah, there's a lot of there. It's a racial reason.
It's a racial reason. With Obama, it's a party reason.
Yeah,
exactly.
With Obama, it's a racial reason.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you can't be a mass media, attack Obama, and get away from all the racist chants because Obama was really quote unquote the people's choice. You can't go against the people's choice because how do you make money? The people gives you the money. So you have to go with where the people are. That's why Obama was an attack, even though Obama did plenty of shitty things, like the cages where they store like kids. Like for sure they were built during Obama's era. It's just he didn't put that many kids in there. Trump put way more kids in there than Obama did. Like those under Obama's era.
Not to mention all the drone strikes and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, those are still going on. Trump definitely did more than Obama, but Obama did the same shit. He was low key about it. Trump was like, "Yo, guess who I just killed? Soleimani." Like they're fucking hero in their country.
Guess what?
Pull up, motherfucker. Yeah. But you're right, though. You're absolutely right in the fact that media will not treat Biden on the same standard as Trump. But one of the reasons for that, I think, is because media hates Trump. Because Trump hates the media. He attacks them. Biden's not going to attack the media, but I believe for the media's own sake, they'll still dig up stories on Biden. Just not as much. Not at the same level.
Yeah. All right. Moving on a little bit.
Best transition ever.
Yeah. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and move on.
To the next question.
Okay, this is actually something I really do want to talk about.
Ooh, let's go.
So, with the way the last election went, we kind of did talk about this a little bit in terms of like whether your vote matters or not. But foreign tampering is a big concern for many Americans. Do you think that either Trump or Biden is correct in exactly how much of a concern this is, or do you think neither of them are correct? You can have that third way out.
I think both of them know the actual truth, and they know that there's nothing they can do about it. And the honest truth is, there's no way you can stop any country from absolutely tampering with their election system. Number one, the US can't stop itself from tampering with that shit. A ballot box in Los Angeles was set on fire. Several Trump voters' vote was thrown away. I think that's the inside joke, but still it happened. A lot of ballots are sent to the wrong places. A lot of shit happened. Even when we have in-person voting gets confused. Like, I think it was 2008, a bunch of, like, a room full of ballot boxes were just not counted. And it might have swayed the election a little bit, maybe. But shit like this will happen. And Russia and China, people who have like all this money, all these resources, they want to mess up the election. Buddy, they're gonna do it. I don't see how you could stop them. Like with cyberspace being this big, with Russian intelligence being this good, with China having this much money and resources, how are you gonna stop them? It's been a thing. I just think neither of them really want to admit how much of a problem it actually is, and the fact that they can do nothing about it.
Yeah. I can get on board with that. I just wanted to know your thoughts.
Oh, thanks. What is your? Do you have like any different opinion though, like on how big of a threat it is?
I was honestly going to say like I don't think we could do anything about it. I mean, I want to be able to say that hey, we can solve this problem and we can make it so it's just American citizens voting. But we don't. We honestly have the problem right now of. Not everybody who is living in an American territory is able to vote. So here we are. Yeah.
Exactly.
So actually, I don't think that we can really solve that problem.
Actually, there's a question I do want to ask you, though. What do you think about the current election system, sending them by mail, like going in person to vote? Like in an age where our freaking iPhone have fingerprint sensors, do you think that's still right? Like, do you think does that not make sense to you, or is it just me?
So here's the thing that is kind of troubling is that one, we have what we just talked about with the cybersecurity being such a threat, or our lack of cybersecurity, I should say. Sorry, being so prevalent. So you have the argument against going full electronic for voting, right there. Right. But two, voting by mail and the Electoral College in general is such an archaic system. It was created in such a way it was created in the 1800s.
Yeah.
There's no way
it hasn't changed.
Yeah, 1800s. I don't know.
It was around it. It was around
1800s. Well, and that's what I mean about government programs. They're immortal. You never get rid of a government program.
Pretty much. 300 years, man. We're still holding on to our guns.
I don't think that's a good system at all, what we have. No. Yeah. But I don't really have a solution at the same time because of how vulnerable our cyberspace is.
Right.
And how obviously easy it is to tamper with elections.
Right.
So I don't think that I have a better way than voting by mail right now.
Here's the thing, is you or I cannot come up with a good system to electronically vote. But I'm sure if the government were like, yo, Google, Facebook, all you dicklicks, like if you can come up together, get a think tank, come up with a better solution to vote, some fail-safe way, I'm sure they can. Because between faking a mail-in voting and hacking into someone's Facebook account, like, I think it's much harder to hack into a Facebook account. Like, I know it might be different from governments, but I'm sure if I were to compare the two, I'm not sure what your opinion's on it. But
in theory, if we did it well enough, that should be the more secure option. Yeah.
Right. So, like, I can't think of it, obviously. Like, I'm not a coder. Like, you're not a coder. Like, a bunch of us aren't coders. But Google and, like, Facebook.
We need Russell on here.
Exactly. We got like, smart guys like Russell. We got people that come up with this. And in a few short years, we went from the BlackBerry, or, like, a piece of shit, to this. I can watch HD movies on this. When I was a kid, if I could watch like a 2-second ad on my phone, I'd be like, fuck, video on my phone? Get out of here. Shut the front door. So I think it's completely conceivable if the government just go to the big tent. It's like, hey, yo, bitches, like, you're in our country. You want to come up with a better way for us to election? Maybe use fingerprint scanning. Maybe have everyone with an ID. Maybe register every single person who has voted once. Send like a double confirmation, and then make sure they have facial matches, fingerprints matches. Make sure they agree to it. Double check, triple check, like quadruple check for every single person, right through cyberspace. I feel like it'd be a very tight like election, dude. I think like statistically it would at least be safer, like at least you have more registered votes, and also you bring young people into voting. Like if you just have to go on there and just vote, you would engage the whole country, and young people not voting is a huge problem right now. Between the age of 18 and 26, like that age group make up like 12% of all voters, which is ridiculous because we're way more than that. Yeah, I don't know. Just my thinking. My thinking that election systems.
No, I think you're right. No, I think you're right. Something's got to change here, and it's just because whatever's happening is not working. It's not fair at all.
You don't know if your vote counts, which it sort of doesn't.
Yeah, you don't. I know mine usually doesn't, but that's because I usually vote independent party. So that's really on me.
Nothing to do about that, man. This new system can't help you there.
That's my own fault at that point.
It's good, buddy.
The only way you could waste your vote on an independent party is if you actually vote.
Exactly. If you brainwash, you just got to brainwash at this point. You just got to make sure, like, people, like your friends, like, hey, if you vote independent, I'll love you forever. I might be bribery, but love is not. You can't put a price on it. Or I don't know.
Well, okay. Talking of tired topics, but I got to bring it up one more time.
Yeah.
Since it came up in a debate once more time, what do you think of the matter of Trump's taxes? Does this matter, or does it not matter? What do you think?
So in terms of taxes, Trump defended himself very well tonight, because instead of just simply saying that, like, oh, we should raise minimum wage, for a while he did great. He was like, well, if you raise the minimum wage, more small businesses will be in trouble because they can hire less people. And Biden was like, well, there's no proof of that. And like he started explaining it, and it sounded like he was doing really well until the moderator was like, wait a second, didn't you say you would raise the minimum wage like a couple of days ago? And Trump was like, duh. I mean, I'll consider it. Yeah, but with the taxes, well, if you look in the past, actually, this has always been a problem. When the world went through recession, I think it was around Reagan, right? Ronald Reagan. Reagan lowered a bunch of taxes, and that made him like become president. It made him like get a second. I think he got a second. I'm pretty sure he got a second term. But when Bush Senior came up, Bush Senior came up was like, I won't raise taxes. And when he got in the government, he realized if I don't raise taxes after Reagan not like raising taxes at all for that many years. Like, we don't have any money, dude. Like, how am I supposed to fix the economy with like $0? So he's like, fuck, we have to raise the taxes. And he did it to fix the economy in the long run. But unfortunately, it meant that he did not get like the last 4 years of his presidency. Like, he couldn't get the next term. So raising taxes after the economy gets devastated is at one point necessary. It's just when do you do it? And the absolute truth is that nobody's going to like it when you do it. So maybe Biden has a better plan for the long term, but no one's going to like him for it. Maybe Trump does have an idea how to like make economy better, but people who aren't going to like him are still not going to like him. So no real good answer, man. Economy goes the way it goes, and we'll be fucked for a couple of years, but 5 years from now will be good, and 20 years from then it'll get fucked up again. That's what I think.
All right. So do you think Trump's tax returns matter at all? That's kind of what
tax returns. I thought you said tax policies.
Yeah, sorry. That's what. No, sorry. I guess that wasn't super clear. That's what I meant. But that makes sense what you said. I appreciate the input anyway.
I didn't hear the word returns.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so no, you're good. Like, yes, I'm partially deaf at this point, I guess, loud music, but yes and no. Yes and no. So if Trump actually has corrupt dealings with China or Russia, if he has taken money from high officials in China or Russia on a quid pro quo basis, you buy some of my shit, I do something for you, or the money he owes to either countries would have some kind of hold over him, right? Like, why is Trump so friendly towards Putin? Why does he get mad when people talk shit about Putin next to him, which is actually true? He'll go off on a rage if anyone badmouths Putin in front of him. Like, why is that? Like, does it have something? If so, I think we should see the tax return. We should see if the president owes shit to Russia, if the president can be swayed because he has personal debts against Russia. But on this other hand, I think for a rich person like Trump, every single rich person is going to have some shit on his tax returns he doesn't want anybody to see. I don't want to release my tax returns to anybody else because I just don't want people to know, like, how little I make. Like, it's embarrassing. I think nobody wants to. It will make Trump look bad, but I don't think it's all that important unless they find some Russia ties, which I doubt that they will. So what do you think, though?
It's frustrating to me because the tax returns really shouldn't like reflect any of that shit.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah,
like I'm a big support. This is a whole separate issue, but I'm a big supporter of like a flat tax.
Just
I think
for everyone?
that tax, basically for everybody. I don't think that because if it's like a certain percentage across the board for however you're employed, so it'll just be regardless, it'll be like 15% of your paycheck or whatever it needs to be.
Yeah.
So, but you'll solve. I think in that way you'll also kind of solve the problem of rich people not paying their fair share because their 15% is going to be way more than my 15%. So I think that's fine. But I think that would solve. I think that would solve a lot of this problem because then we wouldn't really need to see anybody's tax returns because they should, in theory, all basically read the same.
Right. Is the only little problem.
The shitty thing about our tax system is that it's so goddamn complicated that there's these loopholes and there's these problems that arise from people like Trump exploiting the system, or really anybody who's at that level of wealth. And that's kind of the problem. I don't know what you paid last year. You don't know what I paid. Nobody knows what anybody is paying because it's literally different for everybody.
Right.
Especially if you are a corporation or if you're any kind of entity other than just a single human person. And that's the problem I have with it, is that it's so overly complicated that there's no true accountability with anybody. There's no true honesty with anybody.
I actually very much see your point, and to a certain point, like I really, really like it. The only problem is that really, really rich people like Zuckerberg, like Trump, they have ways of not giving themselves income. So the only complexity with that is that even under that 15% flat rate, you still need to come up with new shit that tax like the really richest of the rich, who can just get away with no income but be richer than any of us. Trump paid $750 like in income tax. That makes me sad.
Well, that's because of the way our tax code is, and that's why it's acceptable on his tax returns. That's what I mean. It's like if you actually uncomplicated the tax code, then that wouldn't happen. In my opinion.
You gotta set some measures. But I think you're right. That would solve a lot of things.
Well, I mean,
it is complicated.
maybe a little bit to like mitigate and to make sure that shit like that doesn't happen. But that's basically it. But the way our system is set up is because there's so many loopholes and avenues you can take, is to the point where Trump can get away with paying only $750 if that's the case. We don't know. We haven't seen his full tax return.
Like lawfully, he can do that. And tonight he sort of defended himself pretty well too. Like he was like, I prepaid 10 years worth of taxes, which for me sounds like bullshit because that just sounds ridiculous. Like why would you do that? Why the fuck? Like I know Trump sometimes makes bad financial decisions, but why would you do that? Anybody?
And that's what I mean. That's why I wanted to ask why this even matters. Like if it's legal for him to do this, which it obviously is, if he's able to maneuver and find these loopholes in the tax code, then does it really matter?
So basically, the only relevance it has is that it exists to make Trump look bad. Because number one, it's like I don't want to release it, which I get it, but him doing that makes him look guilty. So number one, there's that. Number two, like he has all these dealings with China, which he's an international businessman, so of course he is. But with his tough stance on China and Russia, it looks bad that he has dealings with them. And just he has so many losses, he reports so much losses, no income, he pays so little taxes. He does it lawfully. It's not against the law, but it looks bad. So that's why it's all out here. And it's not really important in the sense that you or I would think is important, but it's important to somebody because it discredits him, you know. Politics, everybody.
You're right.
Thank you. C'est la vie, man.
So We're coming up on an hour here, so I'm actually going to skip the next couple of questions and just go on to it's getting towards the end here. But I just want to ask you, I just want to talk about their closing statements. They were asked to kind of mock address the nation, and as if they were at their inaugural address. So I just want to see what your thoughts are on both of their final statements.
Well, let me just do a little quick summary, and then I actually want to get your opinion on this. So basically, Biden went first, and what Biden did was, I know I was elected Democrat.
No, Trump went first. Trump went first.
You sure? Oh,
yeah, Trump went first.
Wow. Well, sorry, Biden's left so much more of an impression on me. I guess I thought he went first, but okay. So Trump spent his time half saying how great job he did, and half saying that how Biden's corrupt and he's a total piece of shit. So nothing about the future, not too much about. He wasn't addressing the
kind
nation.
of funny,
right? Yeah, he was he was hyping himself up. I was like, bro, that was not the question, man. But I get it. It fits your character. Yeah. And then Biden actually did far better in this. He was like, hey, I'm gonna be a Democratic president, but I will treat America as the whole thing. And I think that will probably resonate with somebody. It resonated with me because I hate how the country has become so divided that they can't get together to pass a simple stimulus bill which gives money to Americans who really need this right now. Now, you or I, we've been impacted a little bit, but not that much. There are people who are impacted more. And those people need a lot of help, and they're not getting it because they're playing politics, because both sides can't see eye to eye. Pass the stimulus, man. It'll help people. But they can't do that. Pelosi can't do it because she doesn't want to give Republicans power, and Republicans won't do it because whatever they come up with, Democrats will refuse, or vice versa. So a lot of division has come, and Biden really shouted for unity. If I were to judge the debate based on their closing arguments, I would say Biden performed marginally better than Trump. So what do you think, though? What do you think of both their statements?
I'll agree with you in the sense that Biden's message and Biden's closing statement was a lot better, a lot more eloquently spoken. Mm-hmm. Trump did spend his entire time basically just shitting all over Biden and pumping up himself, which is weird if you consider it to be an inaugural address, because at that point Biden really wouldn't matter at all. Yeah. So anyway, but moving besides that, I think Biden's statement was a lot better. However, I like the things he said. I don't believe him. Mm-hmm. I don't think that it's true, because as much as he may believe it, I don't know if he does, but if he may believe it, and he may mean it when he says that he wants to unify the country and literally be both a Republican and Democratic president and try to help everybody out equally. Yep. But I don't think that's going to happen. Our system, the way it is, it's so corrupt and so split down the middle that's just not going to happen. There's always going to be Republicans blocking the Democrats and everything they do, and vice versa. Yeah. So even if and if we're being honest, that's really the reason I'm not a full Democrat or liberal. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I most of the time, mostly agree with what they want to do, and everything they do sounds really nice and they brand it really well, but I don't think it's realistic. I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah. I don't think it can happen financially. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it will happen even if we did have all the money for it. I don't think it's responsible socially. Yeah. A lot of the time. So I don't think Biden, even if he is elected, will be able to accomplish many of the things he claimed he will accomplish tonight. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But whether or not he believes it or he wants to try to do it is another thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Yeah. So actually, let me just give him my own closing argument, I guess, because we are coming up in an hour here. And thank you for everybody who stayed with us for this whole time. So basically, I think the country being divided in terms of there's Democrats and Republicans, they don't always see eye to eye, is the integral part of America. Without that, how are we different from Russia or, say, China, right? Even though people elect the government officials, I think without that friction, it would be too one-party centric. A lot of things would get passed by. Okay, so I'm not saying, I just want to say really quick, I don't think that having dissent is a bad thing. Right. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it's so split down the middle that nothing can get done because there's always going to be a little bit too much power in one section as opposed to another. And so everything's going to just be button heads the whole time. And we have something, like you said, with the stimulus not getting released just because of party politics.
Right, exactly. So actually, what you said was actually going to be my very next point. So thank you for bringing that up. But
sorry.
No, it's okay. That's actually, no, you complimented what I was about to say. And just to add to that a little bit more, the friction is possible, but just like you said, it needs to be tasteful. It needs to be at a certain extent. If it's too much, then not enough people are being helped. If it's too little, then the government process, democracy, wouldn't work. It needs to be just right. And to do that, we need a president that actually wants to unite the people. But the problem with Trump right now is that he doesn't want to unite the Democrats and Republicans. Every day he's shitting on Democrats with impunity. He's calling people names. Crazy Nancy Pelosi, sleepy Joe Biden, like he calls that Pocahontas. Like, how's that okay, man? How can you call like Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas? Like that's just not okay, man. But yeah, it's like the only problem is that Trump has no interest, and he's very blatant about the fact that he has no interest in uniting the country. He thrives on controversy. He thrives on people's hate. And I think at one point he might be a little toxic for America. Like policy-wise, like his accomplishment, I think some of them are actually, pretty refreshing. But overall, I think it will be a better choice if the American president actually has this desire, or at least expresses the desire to unite the country. Well, that's my closing statement. Yeah.
Oh, I can get behind that. I really do think that a big problem, not necessarily on the political level, but at least on the individual level with how people talk about politics, is that there's so much shutting out and so much of the attitude of, if you're still a Trump supporter, unfriend me, that kind of thing. Yeah. There's so much of that there's no discussion and nobody's ever going to change their mind. Yeah. To bring up Penn Jillette again, he's one of the reasons he became a libertarian is because he used to be super liberal. And he had somebody, I can't remember, I'm very much paraphrasing and summarizing the story here, but he had someone who came up to him and basically just said, "Hey, you're wrong. Here's why." And just explained to him and talked to him, and they had a giant discussion, and he didn't become a libertarian that day or anything like that. But the point is that the guy respected him enough to say, "Hey, you're wrong. This is why." Yeah. And that needs to be more of a thing. Yeah. You need to be able to have that discussion. That's what I mean. That's healthy on an individual level. Politics, that's in terms of like the higher ups. That's probably not going to happen. Like that level of mind changing isn't going to happen. The level of you're wrong is going to happen because that's why we're in the state that we're on. But in terms of the individual, that kind of dissent needs to happen more often. Yeah. That's my closing statement. Yeah. I know that doesn't have much to do with it, but I just wanted to be able to say it.
It's very nice. I think like what you said is completely on point. Political discourse has been one of like the highlights of this country. It's the reason why America is what it is. I just really hope 1,000 years from now on, they're not going to look at like the Trump-Biden debate and compare it with like the Lincoln-Douglas debate or some shit. It's like, yeah, they're both very controversial, but this one was more fun. We have more records of it. And be like, whoa, Trump versus Biden. Yeah. And like nobody cares about like Lincoln versus Douglas. But, hey, who knows, man? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, what I do want to thank everybody for coming in and watching us on this episode of Oral Exposure. I know we had a couple of streaming hiccups here and started a bit late, but really appreciate you checking in. And just want to say have a good night, and we'll catch you guys next time. Tomorrow we're going to be doing another episode of The Den, so catch us then. We'll hang out then.
All right, cool. Good night, everybody. See you next time.
Good night.